York, New York. One of the best food cities in the world. The best chefs, the best restaurants. If you can make it here in the culinary industry, you really made it. One of the most unique, prestigious experiences in the city is a dinner at the James Beard House, the former home of legendary chef and television personality James Beard. I've been asked to cook for a very special event, the Cinco de Mayo Dinner.
Oh my God, I love this color. Did you see?
It's such an honor that I wanted to share the event and a few of the recipes with you. A light, creamy dulce de leche caramel mousse that melts in your mouth.
Because one dessert is never enough, I'm making two.
A chocolate salami. It's not really a salami, it just looks like it, and trust me, it's addicting. And because I have Sammy joining me in all of these deliciousness, I'm making one of his absolute favorites, shrimp enchiladas in a rich tomato sauce.
How many times do you ask me for this dish?
It's a lot 'cause you don't make it enough.
I know.
Dame tu piloncillo, dame café caliente, dame tu corazón.
Julio, tómate el tiempo, porfa, para doblar.
You would never know just walking by, but this unassuming building in Lower Manhattan has seen decades of rich culinary history. One of America's original celebrity chefs, James Beard, once called this home. For years, the James Beard Foundation has carried on his legacy through dinners and events featuring the best chefs from around the country.
So this is for the cocktail hour. For the seated dinner, we have 5 courses.
Recently, I had the honor of cooking the Cinco de Mayo dinner.
Like $3.75 for 10 minutes, no?
My menu was a culinary compass of my homeland and the cuisine I hold so near and dear to my heart.
Y no sé, ¿a qué horas queremos poner los tamales?
Caldo de camarón, carnitas, aguachile, dulce de leche caramel mousse. A mix of recipes from Mexico's most iconic regions and dishes that I have a deep personal connection with. The James Beard dinner was such a fun experience that I just have to share a few of the recipes.
And I'm starting with shrimp enchiladas in a tomato and nutmeg sauce. We're going to begin by making the sauce for the enchiladas. The sauce is crucial for any enchilada, but I'm gonna give you a little trick. Whenever you make an enchilada, say you're making chicken enchiladas, well, you need to add some chicken broth to that enchilada sauce because then the sauce is gonna marry the filling. Today, we're making shrimp enchiladas and we're gonna make a super quick shrimp shell broth, which is gonna go in the sauce, which is gonna make the sauce marry the filling of the enchilada. I have 1.5 pounds of medium-sized shrimp. So I'm adding all the shrimp shells right in here. I'm gonna cover it with water. So I'm adding 4 bay leaves and I'm adding a garlic clove, 5 sprigs of parsley, a generous teaspoon of salt. We have the shrimp broth going, and now I'm gonna get the rest of my sauce ingredients going in this pot. I'm gonna add 1.5 pounds of ripe Roma tomatoes, and I'm gonna add some water. And these tomatoes are usually used for sauces and stews and salsas because they are mushier than the round or beefsteak tomatoes. 2 serrano chilies, and I'm also gonna add a garlic clove. I'm gonna get my tomatoes cooking, and I wanna cook the tomatoes, the chile, and the garlic, which is such a traditional Mexican combination, until the tomatoes are mushy and soft, so I can puree them into a sauce. I'm gonna chop my shrimp so those are ready too. I make enchiladas all the time at home. The boys love them, I love them, Danny loves them. And these enchiladas are Sammy's favorites. In fact, When I don't make these enchiladas for a few weeks, he'll ask me just out of the blue at a random point during the day, hey Ma, you haven't made those shrimp enchiladas. So I'm gonna put my shrimp away and I'm just gonna cook them right before I make the enchiladas. I'm gonna strain the shrimp broth right in here. And now I'm gonna puree the rest of the ingredients for my tomato sauce. Tomatoes are perfect, and I know that because the skin has come off, and look at how mushy and soft they are. I have 2 chiles in here, but I'm just gonna add 1 first. I'm gonna taste, and if I need more heat, I'm gonna add some later. So I'm gonna add 4 scallions, and I'm using scallions instead of white onions just because it's a softer taste. And I'm going for a softer taste here because I want the shrimp flavor to really take over. So instead of adding black pepper, I'm adding nutmeg. And I think it adds a really delicious layer of flavor. It's like nutty, it's toasty, it's fragrant. I love the smell. Half a teaspoon of salt. I'm adding about a cup of the shrimp broth that I just strained. And this is gonna give my tomato sauce a much richer and complex flavor. I'm gonna puree these until completely smooth. I haven't even removed the lid and I can already smell it. It's that intense. I'm smelling the shrimp, and I'm smelling the nutmeg and the tomato and the chile. I'm gonna taste just a little bit just to see if it needs more salt or more chile. It's still gonna season and thicken, but I wanna taste the base. Very spicy. Doesn't need any more chile, but it is very good that it's very spicy because I'm gonna add cream later on. So I'm gonna add a tablespoon of oil. I'm gonna pour the sauce into the hot oil so that, of course, it's gonna splash and splatter and sizzle, which I wanted to do, but I'm gonna use my lid to protect my shirt. And then I'm gonna add some of the Mexican crema. And you know, the Mexican crema is very different from heavy cream. It is less thick than sour cream. It is much more salty and tangy than heavy cream, and it's not as sour as sour cream. I'm gonna add about a cup. You can find this cream in international stores, in Latin stores, but if you don't find it, you know what you can do? Talk to your grocer and tell him that you need Mexican crema. And I'm gonna let this cook for about 7 to 8 minutes until it all comes together and it seasons and it thickens.
One of the recipes from my dinner at the James Beard house was carnitas mini tortas with pickled jalapeno. And by the way, if you want a party pleaser,
So was this the most popular thing? Yes. Yeah?
you can't go wrong with carnitas tortas. Trust me. Now, one of the keys to any great sandwich is bread. I wanted some real Mexican bread for this torta, and I found just that in one of New York's oldest, best Mexican panaderías, Don Paco López in Sunset Park, Brooklyn.
Pati, ¿cómo estás?
This place is special, and that becomes obvious pretty soon after you walk in the doors.
¡Oh, yeah! ¡Pan
Ahí.
fresco!
Ahí están las conchas.
¡Qué rico! I'm seeing things that I would see in a Mexican panadería.
We have started business 27 years ago.
Okay.
My mother, she's the one who said, let's do it Mexican style. For me, the conchas is
Are the best.
the best.
Miguel's family is from the state of Puebla, known as one of the cradles of Mexican cuisine. Baking was a family business. Making sweet breads like these
The fluff.
has been their stock and trade for generations.
So moist and it's barely sweet, like the
Yeah.
bread as it should be. But then you get the
Crust.
sweet from that, crispy crust. It's crumbly.
After emigrating to pursue his American dream, Miguel's father, Don Paco, spent 20 years working in bakeries around New York. But he missed the taste of home. What New York really needed was a bakery just like their beloved Puebla business. In 1991, he built Don Paco Panaderia with the original family recipes.
And this is the original...
The original recipe.
No kidding.
Yeah.
De tu abuelito?
Yep.
Today, those recipes are a staple of this Brooklyn neighborhood.
I remember 2002, 2004, the price of the eggs, they went up so high. So one day I have a meeting with my father, my mom, and my sister and say, you know what, I cannot handle it to pay with fresh eggs. We're going to use frozen eggs. And my father said, you're going to change the recipe, you're going to take my name down from
I love that. I
Because-
love that. To not compromise the quality or to compromise the soul and the spirit of something that it's your art, it's your life, it's your work.
As a baker, you have to be proud what you're doing. And as a Mexican living in America, I'm very proud to say or to see people not Mexican coming to the bakery and get a concha. You know, to me, like I feel proud.
We've got our sauce going for those rich shrimp enchiladas that Sammy loves. But we need something light and sweet for dessert. This dulce de leche caramel mousse is always a hit in our house.
So for the base of my mousse, to make it nice and thick, I'm using 1 envelope of unflavored gelatin granules. And I'm gonna add 1/3 cup of water. So you want absolutely no lumps in here. So the first thing you do is mix it with water and let it start hydrating. And then I'm gonna put it over a water bath or baño María. And this really just for a minute, just until it completely dissolves. As this happens, I'm gonna pour in here 1/2 cup of whole milk, a cup of this cajeta or dulce de leche caramel. So this is Mexico's version of dulce de leche. And we pride ourselves in saying that it is the original. Mexico's dulce de leche caramel is made with goat's milk, which gives it a much more complex and deep taste. When I was a little girl, we used to eat these with everything, with Maria cookies, with sliced bananas. They used to sell them in little tiny wooden boxes, and I would just open those little boxes and lick them clean. My gelatin completely dissolved. And here I am just mixing the milk with the cajeta just until it dissolves. I don't even want it to simmer. I just want it to really mix. I'm adding the cajeta or dulce de leche that has been completely dissolved into the milk. So we're making sure that at every step, everything that we do leads us to have a creamy and smooth mousse. So I prepared an ice bath, which is nothing but ice and water. So this is just one way to make this mixture go faster. Set faster, cool faster. For me, this ingredient, dulce de leche caramel, represents really sweet and tender moments that I spent with my sisters growing up. And I love that my boys have now moments together around this ingredient too. So the gelatin started to do its thing, and you wanna catch it when it's just starting to do its thing, but not when it completely did its thing. Because if the mixture completely set, then it wouldn't fold nicely and smoothly with the whipped cream. I have 1 cup that I'll add a little bit at a time and gently fold in. I'm gonna use the whisk, making sure it's all even. And I love retro things, so I wanna do this in a mold like this that holds 6 cups, and that's it. I'm gonna put it in the fridge so it can chill for at least a couple of hours so it really has the time to set. Because one dessert is never enough, I'm making 2. I'm doing a super chocolatey chocolate salami that is not a salami, it just looks like a salami. So 8 ounces of bittersweet chocolate. The water bath is set at medium heat. And the water bath is gonna make the chocolate melt without it burning or scorching. It's really important to have that layer between the heat and the chocolate. I'm gonna add 3/4 of a cup of unsalted butter that's at room temperature. My sisters and I used to make these and eat these all the time growing up. So we would make not 1 or 2 or 3, we'd make like 4 or 5 batches at a time so that we would have a ton of them in the freezer and we could just eat them on demand. 1 tablespoon of cocoa powder. I'm adding the cocoa powder at this step because its flavor is really going to bloom as it mixes with the melted butter and the chocolate. And it's melting really fast. And this is another dessert that is really easy to make. It has completely melted. So now I'm going to add a teaspoon of vanilla extract and 2/3 of a cup of sugar because it's dessert. And we're gonna mix really well so the sugar really mixes in there. I'll add 5 beaten egg yolks and a 1/2 cup of chopped toasted pecans. I have 12 ounces of Maria cookies, and I'm just gonna crumble them, not super fine. It looks very dry, but slowly the chocolate is gonna start taking over. And the Maria cookies are gonna start absorbing that chocolate and that butter. I really love doing these with my hands, so this is the texture that you want. It is buttery, very, very chunky, gooey. So now we're gonna roll it into that salami shape. So I have wax paper. Then I'm gonna take 1/2 of this mixture and I'm gonna start shaping it into a log. I'm gonna roll it in the shape of a salami. I'm gonna twist the ends so it really looks like a salami. And then I'm gonna put it in the freezer and it's gonna chill for at least an hour.
Everywhere I go, I try to connect with my fellow Mexicans to see what they're doing with food and take the pulse of Mexican cooking in the US. And you know, there are hundreds of great restaurants in New York, but just one Mexican restaurant has a Michelin-Star, one of the highest honors in the culinary industry, in Long Island City, Queens. Casa Enrique.
Cosme, I like your kitchen.
Gracias, Pati.
First of all, it's impeccable. I see the flow of people and I see smiley faces.
Cosme Aguilar is the kind of chef you just like instantly. Humble, confident but quiet. Here in the tiny basement kitchen of Casa Enrique, it's the food that really shines.
When we opened this restaurant, I was saying that we had to cook for Mexicans who lives in the United States and people who appreciate Mexican food, like Americans who appreciate Mexican food.
Born in the state of Chiapas, Mexico, Cosme grew up hearing about friends and family moving to the US and dreamt of one day doing the same.
Did you know you wanted to do food or you just happened into food?
You know, I was a mechanic in Mexico. I mean, I like food, eating and cooking, but not for restaurants or for other people.
But when his brother landed a job in a French restaurant in the States, Cosme jumped at the chance to follow in his footsteps. He spent years working every job in the kitchen, perfecting his craft.
What are we eating?
So I'm gonna make today chilaquiles rojos.
Yay! I love chilaquiles rojos.
Chilaquiles are like the epitome of why I love Mexican food. Everything you need is all right there on one plate. Dress them up and down any which way you like. Accessible, affordable, delicious.
Where did you get cooking from?
So, you know, my mother, she was an amazing cook. She had a restaurant before I was born.
So you grew up with these, like you had these in your veins.
Exactly. So we cooked the onion already. I'm gonna put the chiles.
To finish his sauce, Cosme adds a handful of chiles de árbol and a whole bunch of guajillo chiles, Roma tomatoes, and epazote.
So super heavy on the epazote.
I love epazote.
I love epazote too. You guys, I'm assisting Cosme, who's a Michelin-Star chef. So cool. And you have an incredible spirit, and I hit a lot. I'm sorry, I'm a hitter.
Yeah,
Like-
I noticed that already.
After it cooks, and a quick taste,
Exquisito.
it's into the blender. And most thankfully, onto a plate in front of me.
I mean, this is crazy. This is like crazy good. This is like an impeccable, incredible execution.
Thank you.
Tome más conmigo. I've my shrimp enchilada sauce here, and I'm reheating it because I had made it ahead of time so that I could make these dinners super quick in a few minutes. And I'm gonna add a couple tablespoons of oil and a couple tablespoons of butter. I love it when butter melts into oil. It's beautiful. I'm gonna start seasoning my shrimp with a generous amount of salt, black pepper, and I don't wanna overcrowd my pan because I want the shrimp to saute and to brown a little. If you add too many shrimp, they start steaming. We don't want steamed shrimp. We want shrimp just like this. So the shrimp are ready, browned. I have my shrimp, I have my sauce, I have my warm corn tortillas. Because you want every inch of the enchilada to be packed with flavor, you first have to dunk the tortilla in the sauce. And you can see, the sauce is so rich and thick. I'm going to add the shrimp, which I cooked chopped so that I could fold these enchiladas. There's a reason why corn tortillas work for enchiladas and flour tortillas don't. Corn tortillas are sturdy and can withhold the sauce. Flour tortillas can't. I'm going to completely drench these enchiladas. And I have queso fresco, and I'm gonna crumble it all over my enchilada.
Emma.
Hola, mi amor.
Ooh, this looks so good.
I know. Who likes this dish?
I do. It's my favorite dish.
I know. How many times do you ask me for this dish?
So, Lux, you don't make it enough.
I know. Sammy, why is this your favorite dish?
Just like how it tastes. I
Tell
like
me.
the combination of the shrimp and the sauce. It's like a tomato base, right?
Yeah? You even like the avocado on it.
I do.
¿Cuántas, mi amor?
2. I love it. It's so good. I love like how much sauce there is. With this one, you have to like completely drench it in sauce.
Some enchiladas that you taste can have like a lot of everything, and these, I don't know why, they feel much lighter.
And speaking of light, for dessert, I made another one of your favorites.
Ooh.
Did I make your favorites today, or did I not
You
make your
did.
favorites?
You've made all my favorites.
So this one for you. And you know I've made these in ring shaped, like these, like using that ring mold. But I've also made it with the individual...
The ramekins.
The
yeah.
ramekins, what do you like better?
I think I like this one more.
Yeah?
It looks cooler. Yeah.
Right. Retro.
Retro,
This
yeah.
is like from the decade that I was born. When was I born?
60s, 50s, 40s, 60s. Okay, 72.
Now you're gonna say the
70,
30s.
72. I know when you're...
You like it? Chocolate salami?
I love chocolate salami.
I know you love the chocolate salami. I'm gonna cover it
Ooh.
in confectioner sugar. I've told you that I used to eat these with my sisters, con tus tías, ¿no? You don't have to have them together, but
The more dessert, the better, no?
you know, one of the things that I love the most is cooking for and eating with you guys.
I'll have to be fed.
Right?
Yeah. You can keep making whatever you want. I'll eat it.